12:03 a.m. A cemetery places an order. A bridge whispers your name. One crosses, one stays. At exactly 12:03 a.m., the order came in. The sound of the notification sliced through the silence like a blade. Imran had been half asleep behind the counter of Nightbite Express, a small 24-hour food delivery shop squeezed between a closed pharmacy and a crumbling electronics store in the old quarter of the city. The fluorescent lights above him flickered occasionally, humming with a tired electrical buzz. Outside, the streets were empty except for stray dogs and drifting fog. Midnight shifts were always slow on weekdays. A few orders from university students, maybe a late office worker. Nothing unusual until tonight. The printer began to whir, not its usual smooth mechanical sound. This time it coughed, grinding, as if something thick was being dragged through its gears. Imran frowned and stood up. Come on. Oh, don't start now. The receipt slowly pushed itself out, but the paper felt colder than it should have. He pulled it free and froze. Order details: 3 beef biryanis, 2 bottled waters, 1 family, kebab platter payment method, cash on delivery amount, 550. Taka delivery address, Goristan-e-Kadim, Old Mughal Graveyard, established 1476. Imran stared at the words for a long time. The Old Mughal Graveyard. Nobody used that place. It had been abandoned for decades. The gate was rusted shut. The city had grown around it. But that small patch of land remained untouched, avoided. Children dared each other to run up to the gate at night. Taxi drivers refused to stop near it after sunset. Some swore they saw faint lantern lights moving between the graves after midnight. Imran swallowed. Very funny, he muttered. Probably some prank. He checked the phone number attached to the order. 00000000000, all zeros. His chest tightened slightly. That wasn't possible. The system required a valid number. He tried calling it anyway. The phone didn't ring. Instead, there was silence. Then, breathing. Slow. Heavy. Right against the speaker. Imran jerked the phone away from his ear. Hello? No answer. Just breathing. Then the line disconnected on its own. The shop suddenly felt colder. He rubbed his arms and laughed nervously. Okay, not funny. He walked to the back kitchen window and looked outside. The street was empty. Still. Too still. Even the stray dogs that usually wandered near the dumpsters were gone. He looked back at the receipt. 550 taka. Exactly. Why that number? He checked the system again. The order had already been confirmed. And worse, it showed as prepaid. Paid successfully. His manager had strict instructions. If it's paid, it gets delivered. No exceptions. Imran hesitated. He could cancel it. But the cancellation option was grayed out. He tapped it again. Nothing. The screen flickered for a second, then returned to normal. A small notification appeared. Customer is waiting. His heartbeat quickened. This is stupid, he whispered to himself. He had bills to pay. His father's medical expenses were piling up. He couldn't afford to lose this job over some creepy address. He packed the food carefully into insulated delivery bags. The smell of fresh biryani filled the room. Warm rice, spices, roasted meat. Normal. Everything was normal. He grabbed his helmet, stepped outside, and locked the shop behind him. The air hit him instantly. Cold. Unnaturally cold for this time of year. A thin layer of fog crawled across the road like it was alive. He started his motorbike. The engine sputtered once, twice, then started. As he drove through the old district, streetlights flickered above him one by one, like something was turning them off behind him. He didn't look back. The road toward Goristan-e-Kadim narrowed as buildings thinned. Concrete turned into cracked pavement. The air smelled damp, earthy. At 12:24 a.m., He saw the iron gate ahead, tall, black, decorated with rusted Arabic calligraphy. He slowed down. The gate was open. Imran's stomach dropped. That gate was never open. He had passed by it dozens of times during daytime deliveries. It was always chained shut. Tonight the chain hung loose, swaying gently, even though there was no wind. His bike engine suddenly died, completely. The headlight flickered off. Darkness swallowed everything. "Great," he muttered. He tried starting it again. Nothing. The silence pressed in around him. No insects, no distant traffic, no wind, just silence. Imran stepped off the bike slowly. The fog inside the graveyard seemed thicker than outside, like a curtain hiding something deeper. He picked up the food bags. "I'll just drop it at the gate," he whispered. He stepped inside. The temperature dropped immediately. His breath became visible. The graves stretched endlessly into darkness, some tilted sideways, some broken. Arabic inscriptions carved into stone but worn away by centuries. The smell changed too, less like earth, more like something older. Dust, time, forgotten air. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He nearly dropped the bags. Unknown number. "Come inside." Imran's fingers trembled as he typed. "I'm at the gate." The reply came instantly. "We know." His throat tightened. He scanned the graveyard. That's when he saw it. In the center of the graveyard, where there had never been anything before, stood a long rectangular marble table. Polished, uncracked, impossible. 13 chairs surrounded it, all facing inward, as if waiting for dinner. Imran blinked. It was still there. The fog curled around it like smoke. Another notification pinged. Complete delivery to confirm payment. His chest felt tight. "Hello?" he called out. No answer. Then, one of the chairs slowly moved. The scraping sound echoed across the graves. It pulled back from the table. Inviting. Imran's breath quickened. Oh, this isn't real. The food bags in his hands felt heavier. His phone buzzed again. "You are late." This time the message wasn't on the screen. It was behind him, whispered. He spun around. Nobody. But the ground beneath his feet felt softer, as if the soil had loosened. He turned back toward the table and saw them. Shapes. Faint at first, like heat waves in the air, then clearer. Figures sitting in the chairs, translucent. Ancient clothing draped over skeletal frames. Faces partially formed, eyes hollow. 13 of them, all staring at him. The air filled with whispers, layered voices speaking over each other in a language he couldn't understand. His legs felt locked in place. One figure at the head of the table leaned forward. It wore what looked like a golden turban. Its jaw hung slightly open. And when it spoke, dirt spilled from its mouth. "We have waited." Imran's hands trembled violently. I just have your order." The figure tilted its head. "After 550 years, we eat again." The ground shifted beneath him, and suddenly he understood something terrible. The amount. 550 taka. Established 1476. 550 years. This wasn't a prank. This was a cycle. The empty chair beside the head of the table slowly turned toward him and stopped, facing him, waiting. The whispers grew louder, not angry, hungry. From beneath the ground, dozens of faint hands pressed against the soil. Imran stumbled backward. His heel hit something solid. He looked down. A gravestone, freshly carved, the dirt still loose around it. His heart nearly stopped, and the inscription read, Imran Hossein, born 1999, died 2026, time 12:03 a.m. His vision blurred. That's not possible. The golden turbaned figure slowly raised one skeletal hand. You accepted the order. The food bags lifted from Imran's grasp, floating toward the table. The lids opened on their own. Steam rose into the cold air. The 13 figures leaned forward in unison, inhaling deeply, not eating, just breathing in the scent, feeding on it. Imran tried to scream, but no sound came out. The whispers merged into one single sentence. Sit. The empty chair scraped louder across the stone and stopped directly behind him. Something cold touched his shoulder, a hand from beneath the ground, pulling him gently backward, toward the seat, toward the table, toward eternity. And the clock on his cracked phone screen flickered. 12:03 a.m. again, as if time had reset and the feast had just begun. The clock on Imran's phone still read 12:03 a.m. It hadn't moved, not even a second. The cold hand gripping his shoulder tightened. The empty chair behind him scraped slowly across the stone, positioning itself perfectly at the table, waiting. The 13 figures sat motionless now, their hollow eyes fixed on him. The fog had thickened, curling around their skeletal forms like living smoke. Sit, they whispered together. The voices no longer overlapped chaotically. They were synchronized, controlled. Imran tried to move forward, but the ground beneath his feet softened again. The soil felt loose, wet, almost breathing. Hands pressed up from below, not grabbing yet, just waiting. His lungs felt tight. I delivered the food, he said, forcing the words out. That's all. I don't belong here. The figure at the head of the table, the one with the golden turban, slowly tilted its skull-like face toward him. You accepted payment. Its voice sounded like wind passing through a crypt. You confirmed delivery. Imran shook his head violently. I didn't confirm anything. His phone buzzed again in his hand. He didn't want to look, but he did. Delivery status. Completing. The progress bar slowly filled. 20%, 35%, 47%. No, he whispered. The spirits began to lean forward again, not toward the food this time, toward him. The scent of biryani and roasted meat drifted across the table. The lids of the containers lifted higher, steam rising in pale ribbons into the air. But the figures did not eat. They inhaled. And with each breath they took, the food darkened. The rice turned gray. The meat shriveled. The water inside the bottles slowly evaporated. They weren't consuming it. They were draining it. The golden turbaned figure raised a hand. The whispers stopped. For 550 years, it said, we have waited. The air shifted. Suddenly, Imran wasn't just standing in a graveyard anymore. The fog around him began to move, forming images. He saw a palace courtyard under lantern light, rich carpets laid across stone, silver plates stacked high with food, music playing, laughter echoing. The 13 figures were alive then. Men in royal robes, women in silk veils, a child clutching a sweet pastry, a feast, a celebration. The golden turbaned figure stood at the center of it all, strong, proud, respected. Then, a new figure entered the vision, a man dressed in darker robes, his smile too thin, his eyes too sharp. He poured something into the royal dishes, slowly, carefully. No one noticed. The music continued. The feast began. Laughter, then coughing, confusion, bodies collapsing one by one. The child fell first. The golden turbaned man tried to stand, but his legs failed him. The courtyard lights flickered out. The vision shattered. Imran gasped. They were poisoned, he whispered. The spirits around the table trembled slightly. Betrayed, the leader said. Their voices echoed the word. Betrayed. The delivery status bar on his phone climbed higher. 72%, 84%. The empty chair behind him pressed into the back of his legs. Something pushed him gently. He stumbled and fell into it. The moment he sat down, the ground sealed. The hands disappeared beneath the soil. The 13 figures leaned closer. Now he was part of the circle. The marble table felt ice cold beneath his fingertips. "You complete the number," one of them whispered. "There were 13, another said. "There must always be 14. Imran's heart pounded violently. "I'm not one of you." The golden turbaned figure leaned closer, its hollow eyes inches from his face. "You are now." The delivery bar reached 99%. The air became heavier, thicker. The sky above darkened unnaturally, as if something massive was blocking out the moon. Imran looked down at the food. It had turned completely black, rotting instantly. Yet the spirits continued inhaling, feeding on memory, feeding on the idea of the feast they never finished. "This isn't about hunger," Imran said suddenly. The leader paused. Imran's mind raced. "It's about that night," he continued. "You're stuck in that moment. The feast, the betrayal." The figures around the table trembled more violently now. The fog around them swirled faster. "You blame the hunger," Imran said, "but it wasn't the food. It was him." The temperature dropped sharply. Frost formed along the edge of the marble table. The golden turbaned figure's head turned slowly. Behind it, into the fog. Imran followed its gaze, and for the first time, he saw it. A shadow standing just beyond the reach of the lantern-like glow surrounding the table. Thicker than the others, darker, more solid. It had been there the entire time, watching, waiting. Its eyes glowed faintly. The delivery bar on his phone suddenly froze at 99%. The shadow stepped forward. Its form twisted and reshaped itself into the man from the vision, the betrayer, his face smooth, unaged, as if 550 years had not touched him. "You still blame me?" the shadow hissed. The spirits around the table began whispering louder, conflicted, confused. "For centuries," the shadow continued, "you fed on your hunger, on your emptiness. I gave you purpose." The golden turbaned figure trembled. "You fed us death." The shadow smiled wider. "And you fed on it." The fog exploded outward violently. The chairs rattled. The marble table cracked down the center. Imran's phone screen shattered in his hand. The delivery status disappeared completely. The spirits rose from their seats. Not calmly this time, angrily, their forms solidifying. For centuries, they had believed their curse was hunger, and now they remembered. It was betrayal. The shadow stepped backward. "You cannot exist without me," it said sharply. "I am the reason you return." The 13 figures surrounded it slowly. Imran remained frozen in the chair, watching. The golden turbaned leader stepped forward. "You trapped us in the feast." The shadow's voice deepened. "I preserved you. You imprisoned us." The air cracked like thunder. The ground beneath the graveyard trembled violently. Gravestones split. Roots tore from soil. The fog spiraled upward into a dark vortex above them. The shadow tried to flee, but this time, the spirits were not reaching for Imran. They were reaching for him. 14 hands, 13 ancient, one trembling human, gripped the edge of the marble table as it split apart completely. As the empty chair beside Imran shattered into dust, the cycle was breaking. The shadow screamed as the spirits seized him, not physically, but spiritually. They pulled at his form like unraveling threads of smoke. He clawed at the air, his voice echoing unnaturally. "You need me." The golden turbaned figure answered calmly. "No." The fog collapsed inward. The vortex above them sucked the shadow upward, tearing pieces of darkness from him as he screamed. The sound wasn't human. It was something deeper, something older. And then, silence. The shadow was gone. The air slowly settled. The graveyard grew still again. The spirits turned toward Imran, but their forms were fading now, less solid, less bound. The golden turbaned figure approached him gently. "You reminded us," it said softly. Imran's body felt weak. I just delivered food. The spirit almost smiled. No, it looked down at the broken marble table. You delivered memory. The fog began dissolving. The ancient palace vision flickered faintly one last time. But this time, the feast was empty. No poison, no betrayal, no hunger, just silence, peace. The 13 spirits began sinking slowly into the earth, one by one. Their expressions no longer desperate, no longer hollow. The golden-turbaned leader was the last to remain. It looked at Imran with something close to gratitude. The payment was never money, it said. It was truth. Then it too dissolved into the ground. The cracked marble table faded into dust. The chairs vanished. The fog thinned. And suddenly, Imran was standing alone at the entrance of the graveyard. The iron gate hung open behind him. His motorbike's headlight flickered back on. His phone screen, though cracked, powered up again. The time read 12:04 a.m. Only 1 minute had passed. A notification appeared. Delivery completed. Rating 5 stars. Tip added 550. Taka Imran stared at it. Then another line flickered briefly beneath it. Cycle interrupted and disappeared. He looked around the graveyard. No marble table, no chairs, no fog, just old graves, silent, abandoned. But for a brief moment, he felt something lift from the air, like pressure releasing after centuries. He walked slowly back toward the gate. But deep beneath the earth, something shifted. Not angry, not hungry, just aware. And somewhere in the darkness of forgotten systems, an order attempt failed. For the first time in 550 years. Imran didn't sleep for 3 days, even after he left the graveyard. Even after he convinced himself it had ended. Because something hadn't. The message on his phone, cycle interrupted, had disappeared. But the payment remained, 550 taka, sitting in his delivery wallet balance like a quiet reminder. He quit Nightbite Express the next morning. He didn't argue, didn't explain, just handed in his helmet and left. The manager barely looked up. You sure? Night shift bonus is increasing next month. I'm sure, Imran said. He didn't mention the graveyard, didn't mention the table, didn't mention the 13 souls finally resting. Some things, once spoken aloud, risk becoming real again. For a week, everything felt normal, too normal. The graveyard gates were locked when he passed by during the day, a rust thick around the chains. No sign anyone had entered in years. Newspapers reported nothing unusual, no missing persons, no strange disturbances. It felt like a hallucination. Until the 8th night. At exactly 12:03 a.m., his phone vibrated. He had changed jobs, changed routes, even changed his SIM card. But the vibration came from the same device. The cracked screen flickered on by itself. No notification icon, no app open. Just a black screen with white text. Pending balance, 550 years. His stomach dropped. What? The text glitched, flickered, then rearranged itself. Debt not fully settled. Imran sat upright in bed. I broke the cycle, he whispered. The screen shifted again. Cycle interrupted. Not equal to cycle ended. The room temperature dropped slightly, not freezing like before. Just enough to make him notice. His breath wasn't visible, but the air felt heavier. He forced himself to breathe slowly. They're free, he said out loud. Silence. Then, another message appeared. 1 seat remains. The cracked glass of his phone spidered slightly further, as if pressure from inside was pushing outward. Imran felt something cold at the base of his spine. The empty chair. He had broken the table, freed the 13, destroyed the betrayer. But there had been 14 seats. 14. His heart began racing. He remembered the words, "You complete the number." He had sat down, even briefly. Had that counted? Or had something else been waiting? The next day, he returned to Gorostan-e-Kadim in daylight. Cars passed nearby. Children played in the distance. Life moved normally. The gate was chained, locked, but the rust on the chain looked newer than it had before. He stepped closer and froze. On the inside of the gate, scratched into the metal from within, were fresh marks. 14 vertical lines, one of them deeper than the rest. He stepped back slowly. "I didn't stay," he whispered. A gust of wind blew from inside the graveyard. Cold, despite the afternoon sun. The chain rattled softly, not violently, just once, like a warning. That night he didn't wait. At 11:55 p.m., he sat on his bed staring at the phone, waiting. 12 a.m., nothing. 12:01, nothing. 12:02. The lights in his room flickered once. 12:03. The phone screen turned on. This time, the interface looked different. Not the delivery app, not any app, just a black background and a single order notification. New order received. His breath caught. The order details: 14 empty plates, 14 glasses of water. Amount 0 taka payment. Method: pending delivery. Address your location. Imran dropped the phone. It hit the floor but didn't crack further. The screen remained on. The words shifted. Host required. The room felt smaller. The walls seemed farther away, yet closer at the same time. A faint scraping sound echoed behind him. He turned slowly. There, in the corner of his bedroom, was a chair. Old, wooden, dust-covered. He had never owned it. It faced his bed, waiting. His heartbeat thudded loudly in his ears. "You're not real," he whispered. The chair creaked softly, as if someone invisible had just leaned back in it. The air thickened again with that familiar scent. Not decay, not rot, but time. Forgotten air. Then, one by one, figures began forming around his room. Faint, translucent. The 13 souls he had freed. But they were different now. Not hollow, not starving. Calm, watching. The golden turbaned leader stepped forward from the wall, like mist condensing into shape. "You broke the chain," it said quietly. Imran's voice trembled. "Then why is this happening?" The spirit looked toward the empty chair. The betrayer was not the origin. Imran felt cold dread settle in his stomach. "What do you mean?" "The feast was poisoned," the spirit continued. "But the invitation," it paused, "came from elsewhere." The phone screen flickered again. System still active. The room darkened slightly, even though the lights were still on. The chair in the corner slowly turned, now facing the door. The handle of his bedroom door began rattling. Not violently, just gently, as if someone polite was asking to be let in. Imran shook his head. No, the 13 spirits shifted uneasily. "We were bound to hunger," one whispered. "But something fed on the cycle itself," another said. The golden turbaned leader looked at Imran. It was never about food. The doorknob turned slowly. The door creaked open. Beyond it, there was no hallway, no apartment, just darkness, deep, infinite. And inside that darkness, a long marble table, reformed, unbroken. 14 chairs, all occupied, except one, Imran's. The 13 spirits around him began fading again, not violently, but pulled, like mist drawn toward a vacuum. The golden turbaned figure struggled to remain solid. "It requires a host," it said urgently, or a living anchor. Imran understood then. The graveyard wasn't the source. The betrayer wasn't the source. The table wasn't the source. The system was. Something older than the Mughal feast. Older than 550 years. A mechanism, a ritual, a loop. It didn't care who sat at the table. It only cared that the table was full. Imran looked at the chair in his room, then at the doorway of endless darkness. "What happens if I don't sit?" he asked. The spirit met his eyes. Then it finds another. His chest tightened. Someone else. Another delivery driver. Another innocent person answering a notification. Another cycle. He felt anger rise inside him. "I didn't order this," he said. "No," the spirit replied, "but you answered." The darkness beyond the door shifted. A shadow moved at the head of the distant table. Not the betrayer. Something larger, less defined. Watching. Waiting. The phone buzzed again. Host selection. Finalizing. The chair in his room slid forward on its own, stopping directly behind him. Imran closed his eyes. His heart pounded. If he ran, would it follow? If he destroyed the phone, would it matter? The system didn't live inside the device. It lived inside agreement, acceptance, participation. He opened his eyes and made a choice. He stepped forward, but not toward the chair, toward the door, toward the darkness. The 13 spirits gasped softly. The golden-turbaned leader whispered, "That is not your seat." "I know," Imran replied. He walked past the threshold. The floor beneath him became cold marble. The air felt ancient. The 14 chairs loomed around the table. He didn't take the empty one. Instead, he walked to the head of the table, where the larger shadow sat, faceless, formless, patient. "You want a host?" Imran said. The shadow did not respond. The other chairs creaked. Imran grabbed the edge of the marble table with both hands. It felt solid, real. "I don't accept," he said firmly. The shadow flickered slightly. The room trembled. The chairs rattled violently. The system attempted to stabilize. "Host required. Host required." Imran shouted, "No one sits!" And with everything inside him, he flipped the table. The marble cracked, split down the center. The shadow at the head distorted violently, stretching upward like smoke caught in wind. The chairs shattered. The darkness screamed, not in pain, in interruption. The entire void imploded inward. Light burst outward, blinding, and then silence. Imran woke up on his bedroom floor. Morning sunlight streamed through the window. His phone lay beside him, screen intact, no cracks, no strange apps, no messages. He sat up slowly. The chair in the corner was gone. The door led to his normal hallway. He checked the delivery wallet balance. 0. No 550 taka, no history. He drove past Gorostan-e-Kadim later that day. The graveyard gates were gone. The land had been cleared. Construction signs posted. Future development site. No graves, no chains, no rust. As if it had never existed. That night, 12:03 a.m. came and went. No vibration, no order, no whisper. The system had been fed interruption twice. And this time, there was no table left to reset. But somewhere beyond understanding, in places where cycles are born, a mechanism searched and found nothing for now. Next story, Whisper Bridge. For 400 years, the bridge had stood. No record showed who built it. No blueprint existed. No founding document of Briar's End ever mentioned its construction. And yet it was there. Older than the town. Older than the oldest graves in the cemetery. Older than the church whose wooden beams had rotted and been replaced 3 times over. It stretched across Black Hollow River like a scar. The stone wasn't local. It was darker, smoother, and almost metallic in sheen under moonlight. Strange carvings ran along its sides. Circular patterns intersected with symbols that resembled eyes, waves, and something like distorted human figures bending inward. Historians once tried to analyze them. They stopped after 3 researchers independently reported hearing whispers while studying the carvings. The townspeople didn't need experts. They had stories. They called it Whisper Bridge because no one crossed it in silence. There were rules, not official ones, not written anywhere. But every child in Briar's End grew up knowing them. Never cross the bridge after midnight. If you hear your name, do not answer. If someone stands at the center and looks like you, turn back. The third rule was always said in a quieter voice, because that one was real. Ethan Cole returned to Briar's End at age 30. He hadn't wanted to, but after his mother passed, there was no one left to keep the house. No reason not to sell it. No reason not to come back. Except the bridge and Mason. 12 years ago, Mason Cole had disappeared near Black Hollow River. The official report said drowning. There had been a party, alcohol, teenagers daring each other to cross the bridge after midnight. Mason never came back. No body was found. Ethan remembered the last message his brother sent him at 12:17 a.m. It's on the bridge. Not, I'm in the water. Not, help. Just that. It's on the bridge. The first night Ethan returned, he told himself he wouldn't go near it. By the second night, he was parked at the edge of the forest trail leading there. The trees felt closer than he remembered. The air colder. Black Hollow River made no sound. At 11:58 p.m., Ethan stood before the bridge. Moonlight spilled across the stone surface. The carvings almost seemed to glisten. He stepped forward. The moment his foot touched the stone, he felt it. A vibration. Subtle. Like something beneath the bridge adjusting to his weight. He ignored it. Halfway across, and the air shifted. The temperature dropped sharply. Then he heard it. Ethan! The voice was soft, right behind him. Mason's voice. Not distorted, not ghostly. Clear. Alive. Ethan's heart slammed against his ribs. Rule number 2. If you hear your name, do not answer. He clenched his fists and kept walking. The whisper came again. Closer. Ethan, wait. His throat tightened painfully. The fog rolled in from the riverbanks, creeping low across the bridge. The world beyond the stone disappeared. When he reached the center, someone was standing there, facing away from him. Same height, same jacket, same stance. Slowly, it turned around. It was him, but not quite. The eyes were darker, the smile slightly too wide. You shouldn't have left, the double said calmly. Ethan took a step back. You're not real. The double tilted its head. Neither is the river. Below them, the water stopped moving. Completely, like polished glass. Something shifted beneath its surface. Shapes, hands, pressing upward. 400 years, the double said softly. And it still works. Ethan's breathing grew shallow. What works? The double gestured to the carvings beneath their feet. They built it as a balance point. Balance? One crosses. The hands beneath the water began clawing upward. One stays. Ethan felt cold realization crawl through him. Mason hadn't drowned. He had been taken. The double stepped closer. You left him. I was 16, Ethan shouted, and he called for you. The fog thickened until the sky vanished. The bridge felt longer now, wider. Wrong. You can free him, the double said gently. The river's surface rippled. A figure slowly rose from the water. Mason, exactly as he had looked 12 years ago. Wet, pale, eyes wide with silent terror. Ethan, he croaked. Ethan's knees nearly buckled. How? He whispered. The double smiled wider. Take his place. The carvings beneath them began glowing faintly red. You step into the river. He walks off the bridge. The water lapped gently against the stone. Mason reached toward him. Ethan stepped closer to the edge. The water looked shallow, inviting. But something felt wrong, too calm, too patient. Then, he remembered the text. It's on the bridge, not in the river. On the bridge. His gaze snapped back to the double. You're the anchor, Ethan said quietly. The double's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. The river doesn't hold them, Ethan continued. The bridge does. The stone beneath their feet vibrated harder. The hands beneath the water grew frantic. The double's face flickered. For a split second, Ethan saw Mason's face beneath it. Trapped, frozen. "You feed on guilt," Ethan said. The double's voice deepened unnaturally. "You abandoned him." Ethan stepped forward suddenly and grabbed it. Its skin was cold, solid, but it didn't feel alive. "You don't need balance," Ethan growled. "You need someone to believe they deserve to stay." The bridge roared. The fog swirled violently. The water below cracked like glass. The double screamed, and the sound was not human. The moment Ethan's hands closed around the double's throat, the carvings beneath them ignited fully, blinding red. The bridge trembled as if something enormous beneath it had awakened. "You don't understand the exchange," the double shrieked. Its voice fractured between Ethan's tone, Mason's tone, and something older, something layered and ancient. Ethan dragged it toward the center of the bridge, where the carvings formed a circular pattern. "You said balance," Ethan shouted over the roaring wind. "So let's balance." The river erupted upward, water twisting into spirals that reached toward the sky. The hands beneath the surface clawed wildly, trying to grasp the stone. The double's face began cracking like weathered marble. "You think destroying me frees him?" it hissed. "I know you're not him," Ethan replied. The circle beneath them flared white-hot. The fog lifted just enough for Ethan to see something horrifying. The bridge wasn't just stone. Beneath its cracks were shapes, faces, dozens of them, pressed into the structure itself. People who had crossed, people who had stayed. "You were never replacing us," Ethan said breathlessly. "You were building yourself." The double let out a sound like grinding stone. For 4 centuries, they came willingly. They believed the guilt. They believed the trade. The river suddenly went silent. The water froze mid-surge. The hands beneath stopped moving. The double smiled weakly. "You cannot destroy what you are standing on." Ethan looked down. The circle was part of the bridge, and the bridge was feeding. Not on water, not on blood, on reflection, on identity. On the moment someone believed the copy deserved to exist more than they did. The double leaned closer. "Stay," it whispered. The word echoed through the structure. Ethan felt something tugging at his thoughts, a memory. Mason calling for help. Mason's disappointment. Mason's anger. Guilt flooded his chest. The double's cracks began sealing. "You see," it said softly. "You already think you should have stayed." Ethan's grip loosened slightly. The bridge hummed in approval. Then, he did something the bridge had never expected. He laughed. Not hysterically, not nervously, but clearly. "You're not balance," he said. "You're fear pretending to be fairness." The double's expression hardened. Ethan shoved it hard into the center circle. The moment its body aligned fully with the carving, the entire bridge split with a deafening crack. Light shot through the fractures. The faces beneath the stone screamed silently as the structure began collapsing inward. The river exploded into motion again. The double howled and disintegrated into dust. Ancient dust. 400 years of it. The carvings shattered. The circle broke apart. Ethan was thrown backward as the center of the bridge collapsed beneath him. He hit the stone hard. The fog vanished. The water returned to normal flow, and across from him, a body lay on the bridge, coughing, shaking. Mason, older, thinner, but alive. The stone beneath them no longer hummed. The strange carvings had faded into nothing but cracks. The bridge looked ordinary, damaged, weak. By morning, the engineers declared it structurally unsound. They planned demolition, but the bridge didn't wait. At exactly midnight the following night, without storm, without warning, it collapsed into Black Hollow River. The stone sank slowly, as if relieved. The river swallowed it completely. No trace remained. Years later, hikers walk the forest trail where the bridge once stood. There is no fog, no whispers, no rules. Black Hollow River runs like any other river. But sometimes, if someone stands at the riverbank at midnight, they might see something in the water. Not hands, not faces, just a faint ripple forming a reflection that doesn't match their movement. And for a split second, it smiles. Because some structures don't need stone. They only need someone willing to believe the reflection deserves to stay.